Welcome to 2021 runners. I'm kind of amazed that we made it here, but I'm excited that we did. I'm Jason Fitzgerald, the head coach of Strength Running and the host of the Strength Running podcast. And every year, I like to give the year a theme. And this year, the theme is the year of taking action. I want to help you take action on what we already know to be the most effective ways of becoming a better runner. So don't miss the Strength Running website. I've just published a monster article all about the year of taking action. But what I want to do in this video is talk about 8 of the most effective ways that you could turn yourself into a much better runner this year than you were last year in 2020. Tip number 1 is probably the most impactful way of becoming a better runner for the majority of us. Now, if you're a highly competitive collegiate or post-collegiate athlete and you're running 70, 80 or more miles a week, this does not apply to you. But if that is not you, then running higher mileage is probably the number 1 most effective way of getting better. If you run higher mileage, in a couple months, you're going to be stronger, you're going to have more endurance, higher aerobic capacity, and you'll be faster, hands down. Now, the key is to do it safely, to gradually increase your mileage, to do so in a way that is safe and gradual so that your body has time to adapt to this new training stress. But if you do it gradually, and if you do it in a very patient, methodical way, your running will thank you because you are going to have the endurance to make your 5K pace into your 10K pace, your 10K pace into your half marathon pace, and on and on. Every single time that I've gotten one of my athletes to a new mileage level, and every time that I have personally gotten to a new mileage level and been consistent at it, enormous gains have been had. So if you're running 20, 30, 35 miles a week, then running more mileage in 2021 is probably the best option for you to get a lot faster. Training tip number 2 is to run fast regularly. Now, if you want to run fast, you have to be good at it. And I don't mean the ability to run fast for a certain distance. I just mean the ability to run fast at all. So things like strides or hill sprints are ways of building in some speed work into your training in a way that is not difficult at all. And that, I think, is the big key differentiator between hard running and fast running. Let's try to find fast running that isn't hard. Genius, isn't it? It's a way of practicing fast running without making it incredibly challenging. And if you do this regularly, if you are able to turn your legs over, run fast regularly, get close to your sprinting capability, and you do it in a way that isn't very challenging, you do it in a way that is frequent and consistent, you will improve those neuromuscular pathways between your brain and muscles. You'll improve your running economy, and you'll make your faster workouts seem a lot easier. So if you're not someone who's regularly incorporating strides or hill sprints into your training, now is a great time to do it because the benefits are clear. Tip number 3 is to do more cross training. Oh, I know you're rolling your eyes already. Most people don't like cross training. I'm included there as well. I would much rather go running. Now, I do really like road cycling, so I have found some cross training that really works for me. And that's a big part of this, is simply finding a form of aerobic cross training like pool running, cycling, the elliptical, even swimming that you enjoy doing. Because cross training, I think, can be considered like easy mileage. So if you go for a 4 or 5 mile easy recovery run, and let's just say that takes you 35 or 40 minutes, well, if you're very injury prone, you might do the same amount of time on a road bike or on the elliptical at a very similar intensity, and you can consider that an equivalent type of workout. Now, of course, you're not getting any impact with this form of cross training, so you do need to make sure that you're doing some running to steel your body to those impact forces, and also some strength training to make sure you're strong enough to withstand them. But cross training is a very low risk way of boosting your aerobic capacity. It's a way of getting more cardiovascular fitness, more endurance that is very related to the same kind of endurance you get as you do with running. but in a way that has virtually no injury risk. As long as you don't fall off your bike going downhill at 33 miles an hour like I did once, you're going to be just fine. So really think hard about cross-training, because it's one of those things that is a low risk, potentially high reward activity that you can insert into your training that is going to make you into a stronger athlete. And that's going to make you a lot faster. Actionable training tip number 4 is to start strength training. If you are not strength training, I think you're not training properly. I don't even consider strength training to be cross training. We just talked about cross training, and I mentioned pool running and cycling and the elliptical. You know, those are aerobic forms of cross training that could replace running. Strength training will never replace running. It's not an endurance-oriented sport, but it is one of the things that we must do in our training to ensure that we are training properly. And if you think about it, no other sport solely focuses on their sport. Basketball players spend time in the weight room. Football players obviously spend time in the weight room. Even cyclists spend time doing a lot of prehab and other rehabilitative exercises to make sure that they stay healthy. And so I like to tell runners that strength training is not cross training. It's part of the training that you have to do as a runner. And if it helps, think of yourself as an athlete that specializes in running. And that slight reframe of how you define yourself, not as just a runner, but as an athlete that specializes in running, that's a really great way of tricking your brain into realizing that you're going to do a lot of other things besides just running in your training, and they're all going to make you faster. They're all going to make you into a more complete, holistic, well-rounded athlete. And strength training, for all of its benefits, from the power to the injury prevention to the faster finishing kick to the better running economy or efficiency, it's a no-brainer to start strength training regularly if you're not already. All right, those 4 tips were training suggestions, specific things that you could add or focus on more in your training. Now, I have a couple more for you, but these are a little bit more big picture. First is to train for a new type of event. If you've always done road races, let's try a trail race. They're a whole different beast. If you've always done road and trail races, maybe you'd find an all-comers track meet and try your hand at a mile or a 3,000 meter race or some other mid-distance race that you would never try before. But stepping outside your comfort zone, trying new types of races really forces you to develop different skills as an athlete. And a runner with more skills, a runner who has a more well-rounded suite of skills where they can target different types of races and be successful at them, is just a better runner. And I would encourage you to get out of your comfort zone, to try different types of races, maybe an obstacle course race. That's very exciting. I've only done one in my life, but I loved it. And the training that you have to do for these races is different than what you've probably been doing for the races that you've always been running. And so it's a nice way to keep things fresh, to try something new, and to expose yourself to new training stimuli that could help you burst through a performance plateau and become a lot faster. Suggestion number 6 is very similar. It's not to try a different type of event, but really, let's try a new distance. So if you might have always done trail races, but you've hopped back and forth between obstacle course and the road and the track and the trail, I think that's amazing. But if you're always doing 10Ks, then I think there's also room to try something new. And I see this a lot in my coaching practice with marathoners. I know the marathon, it's very exciting. So many people love this distance, and their ultimate goal is perhaps to run all 5 world marathon majors. Maybe it's to run a sub-4 marathon or a sub-3 marathon or qualify for Boston. There's so many different marathon goals you can have, and I think they're all wonderful, but they do tend to lead runners into this tunnel vision type of perspective where they're only going to now race marathons. But when you race different distances, you have to do different types of training. Obviously, the marathon training that you're doing for Boston is going to be very different than 5K training. And changing up the distance that you're training for from season to season to season really helps you do different workouts, maintain your drive to train hard because you're targeting different things. And it's through that variety that it leads to better injury results. You're not going to get hurt so often, and it just keeps you motivated more often, and it helps you progress more. You're going to be doing lots of different types of workouts, and through that learning process, you become a better runner. All right, our last suggestion is to get some outside help. Now, if you've never hired a coach or joined a club or otherwise invested in your knowledge of the sport by getting a mentor, and that could be a formal coach that you find, or it could also just be hanging around with a bunch of other runners who are much faster than you. They're going to impart a lot of wisdom on you. And I know for me, I just wouldn't have had the running career that I've had. I wouldn't understand so much about the sport if I didn't have more than 10 coaches myself throughout my 8 years in cross country and indoor track and outdoor track in high school and college. And then, all of the post-collegiate phone calls to my old coach and emails and all the ways in which I stayed involved in the running community and stayed involved with other runners who are a lot better than me. And so surrounding yourself by knowledge, by experience, is probably one of the most impactful ways that you could long-term become a better runner. It's going to make you make better training decisions. These people are going to help you set bigger goals and expect more of yourself. Because if those faster runners are normalizing things like running 8 times per week, think about that one, or just running really fast times or doing workouts that you never would have tried beforehand, they will expand your horizons. And in the case of a coach is a wonderful set of eyes. They are another opinion on your training. What do they think you should be doing based on what you'd like to be doing? How do they think your training should evolve over time from goal race to goal race? There's a lot of different ways that you could become a better runner, but drawing on the wisdom of others is probably one of the more efficient ways of doing so. So there we have it, guys. Those are 7 or 8. I forget what I said earlier, but it's 2021. We're doing this. It's almost like it's live. We're doing it now. And these are some of my best suggestions for becoming a better runner. Now, I'm going to include a round 2 in a week or two of even more practical suggestions for improving your running. And I'm also going to be publishing a lot more videos all about really concrete, actionable ways to improve your running. Because a lot of the times we can get really lost in the theory and some of the abstract ideas in running. And since 2021 is the year of taking action, I want to encourage you to take action right now. I want you to either leave me a comment under this video and let me know what actionable things that you like to do to improve your running performances. But also I want to encourage you to take action and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our other upcoming actionable videos. And also check out the Strength Running Podcast. I'm going to be publishing some really interesting interviews in the coming weeks that I don't want you to miss.